Hi everyone. Good morning and good evening. Hi Bhavesh, Pallavi, Lohita, Sonal, Andu, Lei, Digital Tech Connect, Abhi, uh, Sandrine, Sandeep, Dan. Okay, so good to see you all. Um, so let's just wait a couple of minutes and then we'll start. So, okay, so since I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes, a quick question. How do you feel this class so far? Okay, because we have finished the basic concepts almost, and then we are now in the intermediate section where we are covering joins. We have seen subqueries. Today, I'll try to complete joins, and then I will also try to start with clause, the CTE tables. So, how do you find the class so far? Is it are you guys learning? I will be. I'm actually coming up with some list of assignments. I am thinking I'll come up with some 10, 20, or 30 SQL queries. Uh, Hopefully, because I have some real interview PDF files which was shared to me by some of my subscribers. They are the real interview questions. I am just trying to figure out how I can present it to you. I'll give it like an assignment, and then whatever you're not able to solve it, I'll try to help on that. But I'm coming up with that. Hopefully this weekend I'll try to finalize that. Uh, but so far, are you guys learning everything? What is your general feedback? Just for a couple of minutes until everyone joins. Just would like to hear your feedback. I'm very glad I get to take it. The non-working hours. I think having us practice in class and through assignment is best. Okay, that's good. Would be nice to have a built-in RDBMS like lead code or something. Okay. Um. Okay. So you prefer to basically solve the problems in the browser itself rather than having to use RDBMS installed in your machine, is it? Okay. So learning is fast but implementation is slow. That's always the case, Dolly. Like you can understand the concept through the classes, but until and unless you practice, um, you will not remember what you learned if you don't practice. So you have to practice. Could make it so we could get how questions graded. Could make We need more assignment questions. Yeah, I understand, Jay. So I will come up with that. um, yeah, I am working on that actually. Now I know how it works. Need more assignments. Okay, is it really? Okay, it is really very good. Sometimes I need to revisit the recording to understand better. Yeah, I understand that, Sandrine, because it's the case with not only SQL, anything when you're learning for the first time, you have to sometimes, even I, when I'm learning, not sometimes, all the time when I'm learning a new concept, I always go through a particular piece of video or a blog multiple times because it's not very easy to understand a new concept at the first go itself. Thanks, Swati. I have confidence now to write any complex query. Okay, that's good. The class is going good. So can you share it? IT companies where we apply as a fresher on the basis of SQL. Okay, so I'm not really fair. Of course, there are a lot of IT companies who hire based on SQL knowledge, but I do not have any such list or something. I think we need to engage in mini projects kind of every 10 class. Um, okay, I have a project planned for the end of the session. So the thing is, now we have finished 10 sessions, right? And today I'm going to be starting with, hopefully, I'll finish joints and then I'll start with CTE. And then and I think I'll also cover self join maybe in the next class. And after that, what I have planned is, so after CTE, okay. So once the CT is done, right, then we are actually in pretty good state to probably solve almost 80% of the problems that you can expect during interviews or during your project. Okay. So once the CT is done, then I have a list of SQL queries. that I have some of the queries I have come up myself. Some of the queries I got it from my subscribers, which they face during real interviews. Okay, some of the queries I have taken from Stata Scratch or Lead Code or such platforms. Okay, or from online, etc. So these queries will I will be solving those queries, which will basically cover everything that we have learned so far. Okay, hopefully that would be something like a mini project, because if I was teaching you Python, right, then there would be a lot of projects. Okay, a lot of projects where we would be building a lot of stuff. But for SQL, the it's slightly different. Okay, so I have one project planned for the end, but cannot have it cannot be something similar to learning Python. Okay, but the best thing is to solve problems. Okay, solve real problems that you can expect during your work or during interviews, and I have planned that hopefully in the next couple of classes we'll start that. Okay, so enough of my speech, let's start with the class. Okay, so we were talking about joins, right? Okay, so I talked about left join yesterday, I think. Yeah. So I'm going to continue from there. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let me know once you're able to see my screen. Okay. Okay, so I think we were here. We only solved one particular problem, and I hope that problem is clear and you understood some basics about left join. Now I have one more question here. Can anyone tell me how do you solve this problem? So uh, I have two problems. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you both these queries together. Okay, and I want to see who can solve it. So if you want to solve these two problems on your own, then try to solve it. We are again using the same painting database. Okay, painting data set. You can use it. So if anyone wants to solve it, you can solve it on your own. I'll try to share both these queries with you, because I understand some people already are aware of the basics. So if you want, you can solve it. For others, I will be solving it and explaining it. Okay. So let's start with question number two. My question number two states, find collectors who did not purchase any paintings. Okay. So first of all, okay, what I'm going to do is I'll move this to a new tab. So, okay. Okay, so my question is, find collectors who did not purchase any paintings. So now we know that we have a table called as collectors. These are all the basically the people who would be purchasing your paintings. And then in the sales table, whoever has purchased the painting, their information is present here, right? Whatever sale happened, whose painting was sold, which artist made that painting, and then who was the person who purchased, that is mentioned here. Okay, but there can be certain collectors who did not make any purchase. Okay, so we need to find only those collectors who did not purchase any paintings. So when you have this kind of a question, the first thing that you need to think is, okay, first of all, of course, we need to think select from collectors. I'll put sales and then collectors, right? This is C, this is yes, and then this is C dot ID equal to yes dot collector ID, right? So join. So I know that I need to use these two tables. And how do I know that I need to use these two tables? Because first of all, I need to find collectors, right? So of course, I will need to use a collectors table, meaning that I will need to display the collector ID and the collector name, etc. Right? So I need the collectors table. That's the first thing that you need to think. The second thing is I need to find only those collectors who did not make any purchase. Okay, and any purchase information in this particular data set is only present in the sales table, right? That means I will need to go to the sales table and I need to see in the sales table, are there any collectors? So I can see 104, 102, 103, but are there any collectors in the collectors table which is not present here, right? So in that case, I will also need to use the sales table. So I'm joining those two using the only column that I can join, that is the collector ID. That is fine. Okay. Now, if I do C dot star, okay, I will get all of this. So let's say I'll do C dot star, and then I will do maybe yes dot star. Okay. So this will just print all the columns from both the tables. So the first three columns are from the collector table. The last few columns are from the sales table. Okay. Now I did a join here, and you can see that I'm getting collector ID 104, 102, 103 because these are all the collectors who have done some purchase. Okay. But I know that in the collect, and you see there, I have 104, 102, 103, but in the collectors table, I have another collector called 101. Okay. And that 101 is not showing up here. Okay. Why is it not showing up here? Because 101 is Brandon, and Brandon has not done any purchase so far. Right. And because of that, when I'm doing an inner join, this is an inner join that I have done, it will only fetch me records that are matching in both the tables. Right. Brandon is only present in the collectors table, but he's not present in the sales table. Hence, it does not fetch. Brandon record is not fetched in my inner join query here. As you can see, 101 is not present here, right? But what I can do in this case is I can force SQL to fetch data from a particular table, even if there is no matching record. Okay. Whenever I have to force this kind of data retrieval, we can use an outer join. Okay. In this case, I can see that my collectors table is on the right hand side, right? So join is basically like my middleman, and sales table is on the left hand side, and collectors is on the right hand side, right? So what I can do is, as I told you, if I do a right join, it's going to first do an inner join. So all these six records that are fetched through inner join will of course get returned. Additionally, it will go into the rightmost table, which in this case is the collectors table. It will go to the collectors table, and it will see, are there any collectors who are not present in this inner join but are additionally present in the collectors table. And I can see that 104, 102, 103 is present in the in this inner join output, but the collectors table additionally also has 101. Okay, so even that will get retrieved from this right join. So when I execute this, you can see that from 6 now I have 7 records, and the seventh record that I have got is this one, that is the Brandon. Okay, with ID 101. Okay, and you can see this is one more thing that I did not mention yesterday. Whenever you do an outer join, okay, so I told you the formula for outer join, that is uh, here, right? So I told you it will first do an inner join, all the matching records will get fetched, then it will goes to the rightmost table and returns any additional records. Okay, but there is one additional thing that also that outer join does, and that additional thing is, for this particular case, whenever there is an inner join, because it's a matching record between both the tables, all the column data that is present in both the tables will get returned. But when it does this particular section, that is when it goes to the rightmost table and returns any additional record only present in the rightmost table, in your query, in your select clause, if you are fetching any column from the leftmost table, it, all those columns will have values as null. Okay, so that is what is happening here. If you see here, my rightmost table is this collectors table, and from the rightmost table I am fetching these three columns, and this record here, the last record Brandon, you can see it's having values. But if you look at my leftmost left table, that is from my sales table, for this particular record, all the column values are null. Okay, this is what an outer join does. Okay, when it fetches record from the outermost table, if there is no matching record on the left table for a right join and on the right table for a left join, then the columns from those tables will have values as null. Okay, this is going to be all the case every time. Okay, so I hope this is clear, because we need this particular understanding to solve this problem. Okay, now I have got these 7 record. I'm only interested in finding the collectors who did not make any purchase, right? So what I can do is I can put a filter condition here telling that where yes dot, I can say ID is null. Okay, so now if I execute this, it's only going to return me Brandon, because this is the only record where the data from the yes table, that is from my left table, will be null. Okay, why? Because this is the only record where the left table does not have a matching record, but only the right table has the data. Okay, and that is the only data that I was interested in. Okay, so here I don't need the data from yes table, so I only need this, and this is how I have solved this problem. Of course, you can solve this problem using several different ways. You can use subqueries and many other ways, but this is the most simplest way of solving this problem. Okay, is this clear? Any questions about this particular problem? Did you understand right join? And more importantly, did you understand the columns will be null, right? When you do a right join, any record that is only taken from the rightmost table, all the columns, all the corresponding columns from the leftmost table for that corresponding record will be null. Okay, it's a very important thing that you need to understand. It's going to be very helpful not only in the future queries that I will be solving in this course, but also in your work and in during interviews. Okay, I was actually asked a similar question during one of my recent interviews. Okay, so I have over 13 years of experience. Even I was asked this question. So you can expect to receive this question. So it's it's one of, like, you can tell, interviewers' favorite question, because a lot of people understand joins and outer joins, but they don't understand that you can fetch data. If you want to only fetch data which is only present in the rightmost table or only present in the rightmost table, you can easily fetch it by using a filter condition like this. Okay. Okay, so as we can use not exist, of course, you can use not exist, not in, and few other ways as well. But this is, I think, the simplest way of solving this problem. Okay. Okay, so I hope everyone understood this. Let's move on to the third one, and I already see that some of you guys have solved some. You solved the problem. So let me just glance through who has solved the problem. So I see Bhavesh has solved. Okay, did you solve the next problem? Okay, so I think you solved the next problem, but I don't think so it's having the correct output. Even Sandeep, I don't think so you're getting. Okay, so you solved the first problem. Okay, fine. That should be fine. Shiva, also you solved the first problem. Okay, so I think some of you guys have solved. That's good. Okay. Start from collectors with ID not in. Select from collectors, see left. Okay, so I think Swati has given two solutions here. And I think both should work. Okay, so that's fine. Always a problem can be solved in so many different ways. If you can solve in multiple different ways, that is actually good. Okay, now let's move on to the third particular problem here. So, so the third problem that I have is find how much each artist made from sales. Okay, and how many paintings did they sell. Okay, so what we need to know is we have this artist table with all the artist information, and in the sales table I can see that the paintings that are sold to belong to which artist and what was the price that it was sold to. What I need to do is I need to write a query where I will tell how much did each artist make. Okay, how much money did each artist make, and how many paintings did he sell, right? So what do you think I can use to solve this particular problem? Can you tell me uh, what are the two most important things that I can use to solve this problem? Okay, count and sum. Okay, they are aggregate functions. Join and group by. Okay, group by and joins. Okay, fine. So what type of joins should I use here? Anyone? Inner join? Are you sure? Should we use inner join or should it be some other type of join? Right or left? Okay. So try to understand the question properly. Find how much each artist made from sales. What this means is I have the sales table, and in the sales table I can easily find out who is the artist who made each sale, right? I only need information for artist who made a sale. So every artist present in the sales table, I just need to do an aggregation to find the total sales and the total number of paintings, right? In this case, I don't need to use a left or a right join. We use a left or a right join only in cases where we may need to find data from, uh, we need to find a data which may not be present in one or the other table, right? But in this particular case, all the data that I need is only present in the sales table. I don't even need to go into any other table. Okay, to display the artist name I may need to go into the other table, but the main thing, that is to find the total sale and the total number of paintings and for the artist who has made a sale, is all present here, right? So I don't need to do an outer join here, I can just do an inner join. Okay, so let's try to do that. So I'm just going to say select from sales alias yes. Okay, I don't need a filter condition, but as you guys suggested, I need to do a group group by here. Why? I need to group the data based on each artist, right? So artist ID, okay, because for each artist I need to create one group, and from that one group I need to do the sum of their sales price. So here I can just tell artist ID, and then I can say sum of sales price, okay, and then I can also tell count of one, okay. And I think that's all. So you can see that I am getting for artist 3, he has made total 4,250 and he sold 3 paintings. Artist 2 made 4,800 and he sold 2 paintings. And artist 1 made 300 and he sold only 1 painting. Okay, this is fine, but artist ID is not very meaningful. It's better to print the artist name, right? Now, in order to print the artist name, can you guys tell me how can I print the display the artist name here? Okay, what concept should I use to print the artist name? Should I use a subquery, or should I use joins, or something else? Left join, join, join. Okay, the answer is we can do it using either subquery or join. Okay, but whenever you can solve a problem using join, better to use join, because in most cases joins are less expensive than subqueries, because subqueries you will be writing multiple queries, so SQL has to execute multiple queries and then join the results together. But in a join, it in the initial stage itself, because of the order of execution, the data will get only the data that is actually needed to solve the problem will be fetched. Okay, so unnecessary data will not be fetched, which will kind of save time. But here, of course, the tables are too small, does not make a difference. When you're dealing with tables with millions of records, you might see a difference. Okay, so as you said, we can do a joins, and I will just say artist a on a dot id equal to yes dot artist id. Okay, and now I want to print the name, right? Now I'll give you one simple hack, okay? One simple trick which we use for performance tuning as well in our project, and in my current project that I'm working, we do this a lot, okay? And the reason why we do this a lot is because we are dealing with tables which are having 100 million records, 200 million records, 50 million records, like millions of records. In the current project that I'm working, we have tables. We are actually building a data mart, and we have tables which is most of the tables are not most, I would say, like maybe 20% of the tables are having millions of records. Okay, and not just millions of records, but they are also having hundreds and two hundreds of columns. Okay, and in most cases for our jobs that we are building in the ETL tool, we we use maybe out of, let's say, 200 columns, we hardly use 5 to 10 columns. Okay, so we don't really need to fetch all the columns, and we don't really need to fetch all the records. Okay, so generally what we do is, when we are writing a query, when we are joining with a table, okay, we just put a subquery here itself. So I'm just going to say select, I'll just tell first name, uh, from this I'll just tell, let's say I only wanted to display the first name. Okay, so select first name from artist. Okay, and then in our real databases here, we'll also put a filter condition such that from that 50 million records, if we are only interested in 1 million records, we'll put a filter condition such that only that 1 million records will get fetched. Okay, we generally have something called as where the business date is greater than 2020 or something like this. Okay, we only need data because we are dealing with a lot of transactional data. We only need data that happened after 2020. So we, because that table might have data from 1950s, okay, from 70 years back, we don't need so much old data. We only pull the last 2 years of data. So what we do is, instead of putting, I can put this filter condition in the outer query itself, but since this table is having, imagine this table was having 50 million records, by just doing this, what happens is, instead of telling SQL to join the sales table with another table which is having 50 million records, by doing this I will tell SQL to join the sales table with a table which is having only 1 million records and only having 5 or 10 columns, rather than fetching all the 200 columns. Okay, now this is not a good example because this table has very less data, very few columns. But if you are working on a real time project, This is a hack or a trick. Always remember, okay, when you are working on a real time project, and if you or you go to a new job and you see that there is a very big query, and there are tables which are having millions of records or thousands of records and too many columns, and you don't really use all those. If you are not using 90% of the columns on that table, it's always better that you join with that table in this way. Okay, just create a query inside your join, and then fetch the columns that you need and fetch only the data that you need, and then put this entire thing in your join clause or in your from clause. Okay, this will be much faster. Okay, just a simple hack I just remembered. Okay, um, I'll remove this and I can keep it as it is, and here I can tell instead of artist ID, I'll just say first name. Okay, and then since I'm using first name here, I need to use first name here as well. And now I'll execute, and I'm getting an error. And I'm getting an error because I fetched first name and artist only from this table, but I'm joining using the ID column. So I need the ID also here. And now I'll fetch it, execute it, and now it works. Okay. Now this is just an alternative way of writing a query. Okay. It's in this particular case, since the table is small and columns are just three columns, does not make any difference at all. Okay, but when dealing with big tables, this is something that you can follow. Okay, is it clear? Any questions about this particular problem? Yes. So we are just limiting the data. You can tell that. So when you have queries which are having performance bottlenecks, uh, I think I yesterday someone asked me about this, about some performance things, and maybe I will come up with a list of I would say five things that I would do to write better queries. Maybe I will tell it at the very end of this course. Okay, but this is one of them. Definitely, you need to rewrite your SQL query. Okay, several times whenever I have done performance in my projects, the number one thing that we always do is rewrite the existing query, because the query might have been written by someone else many years back, and then over the time lot of new changes were done to the query, but no one bothered to rewrite the query in a more efficient way. Okay, so this is one way of making your query more efficient. Of course there are many other ways as well, and then of course there are other things you can do, like creating index, building statistics, and few other things. Okay, but most of the time, if you are just an data analyst or a data scientist, or you're just a developer, you would not have access to build statistics and do like modify certain parameters of your databases and etc. But there are certain things that everyone can do, just rewriting the query to make it better. Okay, those tips I'll try to provide at the end of the course. Okay, but hopefully this one small tip can help someone. Okay, let's move on to the next one. If anyone has a question, just let me know. If you can please help teachers optimization queries. uh, Performance tuning and optimization is not part of this course. Okay, I do not want to go in depth because when you're getting started with SQL, you don't need it. Once you are 2 3 years experience into SQL, and if you're working as a SQL developer, then you will need it. Okay, for a beginner, no one is going to ask you to optimize your query, but they might ask you to in your interview they might ask which is a better query. Okay, so I have already shown you, right? Sometimes I have written a query using subqueries, sometimes I wrote the same query using joins, and you need to understand which query is better. uh, the lesser you give SQL to execute certain commands, the better. Okay, if you have a query where you have three different subqueries, and then you have another query where you're just joining those tables and just one query, then of course that one select statement is going to be better, because SQL does not have to execute three SQL queries separately, right? So these kind of tips I will be providing. I'll try to collect it together and give it in one particular class. Okay, now let's move on to the next question, and this question is slightly tricky, I think. Maybe it might not be tricky for some of you guys, but I think one of the more slightly trickier questions. Okay, so let's try to solve this problem. If anyone can solve this problem on your own, that would be fantastic. So I'm going to share this question with you here. Okay, so let's try to solve this. The question states: display all the available paintings and all the artists. Okay, so we need to display all the available paintings and all the available artists. Okay, if a painting was sold, then mark them as sold. Okay, and if more than one painting of an artist was sold, then display this symbol double star beside their name. Okay, so we need to do few different things here. Did everyone understand the question? We need to display all the paintings and we need to display all the artists. Okay, so looks like we need to fetch data from paintings table and from the artist table. So let's start writing this query one by one. So select from paintings P and join with artist A, and I need to join it with A dot ID equal to P dot artist ID, right? Okay, and here let's say I'm just going to do a star for now. And if I execute this, I'm getting 8 records. Okay, so I'm getting, I think the first few columns are from the painting table. So I have the painting name, and then the last few columns are from the artist table. So I have the artist ID and their name, right? Now, this is fine, but you can see that I'm only getting 8 paintings. And how many artists have I got? So I have got one, two, three. Okay, so I have got 4 artists here. So I have got 4 artists in this query and I've got 8 paintings. But if I go back to my paintings table, you can see I have 10 paintings. So my inner join that I wrote only returned me 8 paintings, but in the paintings table, there are 10 paintings. So 2 additional paintings that my query has not written. And in the artist table, I only returned 4 artists, but you can see here I have 6 artists, right? So if, okay, so how do I modify this query such that it's going to return all the paintings and all the artists? Anyone? Okay, full outer join. Okay, fine, right? So this is what exactly I told you, right? What full outer join will do? It's going to first return all the matching records, which it has already done 8 records. Okay, then then it will go to the leftmost table and see are there any additional record in the leftmost table. All those additional records will get returned. Okay, so that is exactly what we want. We want the paintings which are not part of this query, but part of the paintings table to be returned. And then it will go to the rightmost table, which is artist table, and return any additional artist which is present in the artist table but not returned as part of this inner join, right? So now instead of this join, if I just make it full join, okay, and if I run this, now suddenly I'm getting 12 records. Okay, and if you look carefully, you will understand which data has come from the left table, which table has data has come from the right table. So I'll ask you this question. So sorry, so this first 8 records, I have got it from inner join, right? You can see all the columns are present here. Can anyone tell me these 2 records, that is the record number 9 and 10, from where did this record come? Did this record come from the painting table or did it come from the artist table? Okay, from the leftmost table. Fine. And what about the last 2 records? The last 2 records got fetched from the rightmost table, right? That is from the artist table. How can you tell which came from the left table, which came from the right table? Just by knowing these null values, right? Any record that came from the left table, all the columns from the right table will be null, and any record that came from the rightmost table, all the corresponding columns in the leftmost table will be null, right? A simple way to understand. Okay, now this is fine. So basically we have done the first part of the query. Now comes the interesting part. If a painting was sold, then mark them as sold. Okay, so my question is, how do you know if a painting is sold or not? And how can I, if painting was sold, then mark them as sold? So maybe I need to create a new column here or something. And wherever I have a painting, so I have all the paintings here. This is all the paintings, right? If a painting was sold, then I need to maybe have another column here telling that it is sold. How do I do that? Join with sales. Okay, join with sales. Okay, if exist in sales. Okay, fine. Okay, okay, so you guys are right. I need to do a join with sales. And why I need to do a join with sales? Because sales is the only table with which I can understand if a painting was sold or not, right? Just by using the paintings table and artist table, there is no way I can tell if the painting was sold. That is why I need to join with another table, right? And that another table is my sales table. Okay, now my question is, should I do, what type of joins should I do here? Should I do a inner join, left join, or a right join? Anyone? Okay, so Adam tells left join. What about others? Inner join. Can I zoom in a bit? Okay, so let me zoom it. Is this better? Okay. So many people are telling left join, but there are three people who told inner join. Anyone else? Does anyone think we need to do a right join here? Okay, no. So everyone agrees. Most of you guys are told left join, and okay, now many people are telling inner join. Okay, so let's try to do inner join and see what happens. Okay, so I do inner join sales, yes. Okay, and how do I do the join? So yes on yes dot. Okay, so I need to do a join. If the painting was sold, then mark them as sold. So I need to do a join with maybe my paintings table. So yes dot, I think I have painting ID equal to p dot id. Okay, and if I execute this, now suddenly you can see initially I had 12 records. Now with this join with the sales table, suddenly the number of records have reduced to 6. Is this correct? Many people told inner join, and this is what happened by doing inner join. How? Because this this much query returned 12 records. Okay, and then I didn't join with the sales table based on the painting ID, and the painting ID is, I think, this ID. Okay, this ID with the sales painting ID, and looks like in my sales table, if I go into my sales table, there are only 6 paintings that have been sold. This 6 painting ID, right? So that is why if I go here, and when I did an outer join, the 6 painting that were sold, I think, was these 6 probably. Okay, when I did an inner join here, only those 6 records got matched, and hence it only those 6 records got returned. Okay, and you might argue, uh, because when I'm doing a join, the join should happen between the left table and the right table, right? In this case, the right table is the sales table. That is very clear because there is only one table. But which is the left table in this case? Okay, is the left table the artist table, or is it the paintings table, or is it the entire result set of this query? Which is the left table in this particular case? Anyone? Is it the entire result set? Is it the entire paintings table? Is it the artist table? Okay, entire result set. Okay, this is a very important thing that you need to remember. Okay, whenever you are doing a joins, and if you are having a query where you're doing joins with multiple tables, so you're having multiple left joins or inner joins or etc., right? Whenever you put a table for join here, the leftmost table will not just be the table that is to the left side of that particular command, but the entire result set is the leftmost table. Okay, and that is why here, when I did a leftmost join, it's not only considering the paintings table, the entire result set that was returned, that is this 12 records, is the entire leftmost table in this particular case. Okay, so this 12 records will now do a inner join with the sales table, and the join condition is only with this. Okay, and now when I join, I'm getting only 6 records. Okay, but what I need to do is I should not lose any of the 12 records that I returned here. Why? Because this is one of my main requirement. I need to display all the paintings and all the artists. So what I need to do is I need to do a left join here, so that whatever data was returned from my earlier result set, I don't lose that. Okay. So left join, what it will do, all the matching records will get returned, and all the data from the leftmost result set will also get returned. Okay. So now if I execute this, I'm going to still get 12 records. Okay, and I have additionally joined with my sales table. So I think the sales table data is coming from, I think these columns here are all my sales data from the sales table. Okay, why did I join with my sales table? I joined with my sales table because I wanted to find the paintings which were sold. How do I know if a painting was sold? Okay, very okay. Can you tell me, how do I know if a painting is sold or not? What can I use to not null? Okay, not null with which column? Okay, sale date, price. I can just tell, you can see here, whenever there is a painting that has been sold, this sales ID will have some value. The ID, you can see 1003, 1001, etc. Right? For all the other all the other records, it is null here. Right? What this means is, whenever there is an ID column present in the sales table, that means that particular painting was sold. So Miracle was sold, Pretty Woman was sold, and Handsome Man was sold, and all these paintings have been sold. Right? So what I can just do is I can put a case statement here telling that case when, okay, and I can tell yes dot id is not null, then I can print it like sold. Okay. Else I can maybe make it not sold, but they have not mentioned us to make it like not sold. So I'll just do an end here. Okay. And I will give an alias for this column telling that um, what is this column? And maybe I can just tell sold or not. Okay. So now if I execute this query, you can see that there is a new column that is added, sold or not, which is telling sold only for those records where the painting was sold. Okay. I hope this is clear. Okay. We can use painting ID. Yes. So instead of this ID, right, I can use any column from the sales table. That is fine. Okay. I am using ID because ID is the primary key from the sales table. So always better to use the primary key wherever possible. Okay. But it's not mandatory. If you want to use some other column from the sales table, you can use it. Okay. The result will still be the same. Okay. Uh, so I hope this is clear. No questions. If any questions, ask. Let me know. Now comes the last part. That is this one. Let me see who can answer this particular. How do I solve this particular problem? That is, I have written this much query. Of course, I'm going to change this star to only display the meaningful columns. But for now, I am displaying all the records here just so that we can solve the entire problem. Now, can you tell me how do I modify this query such that I also print this? That is, if more than one painting of an artist was sold. So who is the artist? So Thomas is an artist, and I can see that Thomas has sold one only. Kate has sold two paintings. Natalie has sold, I think, three paintings, right? I can understand that from here, right? So what I want is under if more than one painting of an artist was sold, then display a star star. So meaning that for Natalie, I need to suffix her name with a double star here. Same way for Kate, I need to suffix her name with a double star. Okay. For all the other artists, I should not do any changes. How do I do that? Group by artist ID and concat. Okay, that concat is fine. And then we need, how do I identify which is the artist where I need to do this concatenation, right? So should I do a group by here itself? Because if I do a group by to this query itself, then the number of records will reduce, because group by will always reduce the number of records. It's going to create one group for one hour. If I do a group by artist, from I can see there are two records for Thomas, it will reduce Thomas to just one record, right? And I do not want to do that, because at the end of this query, I still want to display all these 12 records, right? So what is that one concept in SQL I can use to do this? Okay, use subquery inside the left join of alias. Okay, this is correct. So Abdi Fita says the right answer here. We need to use a subquery, and that subquery needs to be joined with this table. Okay, because if I use a group by to this main query here itself, the number of records will reduce, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so let's try to do that. So first of all, let me try to write a subquery separately. Okay, what I need is if there are any artists who sold more than one painting. So I can just say select star from artist table. I need to know if any. No, I don't need from the artist, right? I need from the sales table, right? So from the sales table, I can see which artist made multiple sales, right? So I have this artist 2, 1, and 3. So I can just tell artist ID, comma, count of 1. Okay. Now count of 1 and count of star are the same thing. I think someone asked me in Telegram difference between count of 1 and count of star. I already mentioned this in one of my previous videos. There is um, when I started my career many years back, uh, I think the very older versions of Oracle that I was using, there was a difference between count of star and count of one. Count of one was faster than count of star. Okay, the reason was wherever you have a star in a solid clause, SQL will go and fetch all the columns from that table, and then it will see that you're doing a count, so it's going to do the count the number of records. But the process of fetching all the columns was unnecessary for SQL. Okay, but instead of star, if I had put a hard-coded value like 1, then SQL did not have to bother about what columns. It only had to count the number of records, and this 1 was hard-coded, so it would always print 1. Okay. Many years back, count of one was better than count of star, but I think recently, because every year there are new features added to the database, improvements have been made to the database, and I think as of today there is no difference as far as I know between count of one and count of star. Okay, you can use either of the one. The performance, I don't think so makes a major difference. Okay, and I think most people use count of star. Okay, even in my project, all my developers who are working, they all use count of star, but I am just used to using count of one because from the beginning of my career, when I was doing a certification in Oracle, and I learned it through the Oracle documentation, that count of one was better. But today I think uh, database have improved and they have made changes such that count of star, count of one doesn't make much difference. If you want to get started, you can just use count of star. Okay, because I think this is more widely used today. Okay, so I'll use count of star here. Okay, so what I was doing is I did count of star here, and then I will say group by artist ID. And if I run this, now I'm able to see that from the sales table, I can see each artist has made how many sales. Okay, so artist 3 has made 3 sales, artist 2 has made 2 sales, artist 1 has made 1 sale. Okay, now what I can do is I can enclose this entire sub query in my main query here. So I can just tell a left join. Okay, and here I will just put this entire query. Okay, so I'll do this. Okay, and I'll give an alias for this, like let's say something, maybe I'll give X. Okay, and now I need to do the join. Okay, so how do I do the join? So I can just say X dot artist ID equal to A dot ID, because I have the artist table here, so I can join it with this. And what I need to do is, if any artist has sold more than one painting, right? So here I can just put another statement. Okay, now instead of putting another statement here, I need to do a concatenation with the artist name, right? And display all the available paintings and artist name. So now instead of doing a star here, I'll display only the names, column names that I want. So I'm going to say from the paintings table, p dot name as painting name. Okay, and then from the artist table, I will just tell a dot. Okay, I'll do a concatenation here. Concat. Um, I'll tell a dot first name. I'll then leave a space. Then I'll tell a dot last name, and this whole thing as artist name. Okay, this is my artist name. So painting artist, and I think that should be fine. And additionally, I need to do a concatenation of this double star, right? Now that one I will do it a little later, but before that, I'll just put a statement here. So I'll tell case when um, this table is going to tell me if an artist has made more than one sale, right? How do I know if this count of star is greater than one? And let me give an alias here, telling that this is number of paintings. Okay, so I'll use this column. So I'll just tell case when x dot number of paintings is greater than one, then uh, multiple sales. Okay, um, else or don't want, just I'll keep it like this, and I'll just call this column like temp for now. Okay, just for temporary purpose, I created that column, and now you can see here I have got all the data that I need. So I'm still getting the 12 records. So all the paintings and all the artists are printed, and in my sold or not column, it's only having sold for those 6 records where the paintings were sold. And then here you can see only for Kate and for Natalie, it's printing like multiple sales. For all the other artists, it's not having anything. Okay, so this is fine, but what we were supposed to do is wherever a artist did multiple sales, I need to basically suffix their name with a double star, right? So I don't need this column, I just need to put a double star here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm already concatenating the first and the last name. Here I'll additionally do a concatenation based on this case statement. So what I can do is I'll move this to the next line here. Okay, let me know if it is too confusing. Okay, and here I'll just put a case statement telling that case when. Okay, okay, so I'll just copy this whole thing. So case when x dot number of paintings is greater than one, Then, okay, if it is greater than 1, then I want to hard code a double star, right? And otherwise, I don't want to do anything, right? So else nothing. So I'll just do an end here, and let's see if this works. Okay. So let's execute this query. Let's see if this works. So you can see here it is working. And okay, so you see here only for Kate Smith and Natalie Wen, it's adding this star. For all the other names, it's not adding, and this is the correct way of doing. And now I'll just remove this column because I don't need that. I'll remove this space as well, and I'll just leave a space before this star just so that it becomes more cleaner. And now I'll execute this, and this probably is our expected output. Okay, so is everyone clear about this problem? I went ahead and solved this problem. So, did everyone follow along? Did you guys understand? Okay, so Rivan tells no. Rivan, which particular thing is confusing? Which particular part of the query is not clear? One more time, how did you know how many paintings have been sold by each artist? Okay, good question by Rivan. Let me try to explain once again. Okay, so um, you see here, I have written a subquery here, right? This subquery. Okay, what this subquery is returning is, okay. So before that, let me go into my sales table. So in my sale, if I want to identify how many paintings each artist has sold, okay, anything related to the sold thing is only present in the sales table. So I go to the sales table. In the sales table, I can see that on the sale date 1st November, painting 13 was sold. It was made by the artist too. Okay, and it was sold for some price. Okay, and then on 10th November, one more painting was sold, and this painting was also belonging to artist two. Okay, on 10th November, a painting 11 also was sold, and this painting belonged to artist one. On 15th November, painting ID 16 was sold, and this painting was belonging to artist 3. Similarly, on 22nd November, two more paintings were sold, that is painting 15 and painting 16, which belong to the artist 3. Okay, so just from this table, if you read this table clearly, you can see that artist 3 has sold 3 paintings, right? Artist 2 has sold uh, two paintings, right? And artist one has only sold one painting. So how did I know how many paintings artist has sold? I can easily answer that if I just group the data from the sales table based on the artist ID, because every time I group the data for a particular column, for each column it's going to create one record, right? So for 2 it will create one record, for 1 it will create one record, for 3 it will create one record. Then I can apply an aggregate function. In this case, I want to know how count the number of records, because every record in this table is one sale, right? If there are multiple record, there are two sales, and if it belongs to the same artist, so I can tell artist 2 has sold two paintings, artist 3 has sold three paintings, just from this table. Okay, now to transform this understanding into a query, I just wrote this query here. Okay, so this query, I'm just fetching the data from the sales table. I group the data based on artist ID, and then I did an aggregate based on count. What this gave me is, these values might be confusing because the count also is written in the same thing, and the artist ID is also written in the same thing. Okay, because it's having the same number, but this artist ID basically is the ID of the artist. This number of painting is the number of paintings sold, or in this case, is the number of records that belongs to each artist. Okay, so each record represents one sale, right? So in that way, I can tell artist 3 has sold three paintings, artist 2 has sold two paintings, right? Is this clear? Did you understand this? Okay. Once you understand this, I can easily tell that my column number of paintings is having the total number of paintings. Then what I can do is, in my main query here, I can tell wherever I find a record where the number of paintings is greater than one, for that particular record, I can put this star. Okay, so this means this is the artist who sold multiple paintings, right? So this is how I have solved this problem. Okay, so the best thing about this problem is, you can see here we have joined four different tables. Okay, one of these tables is actually a subquery here. Okay, and we have used full join, we have used left join. Okay, we have used a subquery, We have used a concat and we have used the case statement inside a concat function. Okay, and we have used the case statement separately as well. Okay, so we have used multiple different things to solve this problem. Is it clear for everyone now? Okay, so what is Abdifita asking? Sir, one question. Instead of using left join again, use subquery last left join. Before that, there is sales table before subquery. I did not understand your question, Abdifita. Like, what do you mean? Are you saying that instead of left join, should we use an inner join here? Is this what you're telling, or do you mean something else? For the last left join, which will be the left table? Okay, for the left join. Okay, this was a left join, right? Okay, so for this last left join, this entire result set is the left table. Okay, now if I execute, it's going to throw an error because I'm using this column from X table. Okay, but every time you have multiple uh, joins, okay, always remember your leftmost table will be not just the leftmost table for that particular command, but the entire result set from here. Okay, so whatever data is returned from here, that whole thing is going to be the leftmost table for this. Okay, for the last left join from above it, before last left join there is sales. Okay, can I write subquery inside it instead doing another join? Okay, okay. So I get Abdi Fita's point now. So what he's telling is, instead of using this, what is this? This particular sales table here, this subquery here, can I use this here? Because I'm using sales table once here, and then again I'm using sales table here, right? Why do I need to do it twice? Why do I need to use the same table twice, right? This is your question, right? If I do that, it's not going to work, in my opinion. Okay, so let's try to do that. Okay, so I'll paste the same query here, and what you're telling is, instead of using the sales table here, I copy this entire thing here, right, and I put it here, right, and I'll remove this. This is what you're telling, right, Abdifita? If you're telling this, how will it work? Because you see here, I'm only having artist ID because I only need to fetch artist ID and count the number of records for each artist, right? But here, in order to do the join, I need the painting ID. The painting ID is not present here. So this query should fail, right? So this query will fail because s.painting ID does not exist. Okay, that's what it's telling. Okay, so you cannot do that. You have to use this sales multiple times. Once you use the entire sales table, the second time you only fetch the artist ID information from the sales table. Okay, because you're doing a group by, the number of records will reduce. The sales table is having 6 records, but this group by will only return 3 records. Okay, so even though they are coming from the same table, they are two different things. Okay, in concat also we can write, yes, we have written right here inside the concat itself, we have used case. Then it will concat all the columns, no sir? Concat all the columns. Yes, it will concat, right? So in concat, I have multiple arguments here. So I have, first argument is first name, then I have a space, then I have a last name, then I have this case. Okay. The only thing is, this case will return us this value only when the painting is greater than 1. That is only for those two artists. For all the other records, it's going to basically return null. Okay. And anything concatenated with null will basically have that anything value. Okay. Null will not make any change. Case applies only on multiple sales. Case applies only on multiple. Yeah, correct. Okay, so I hope this is clear. If it is not clear, what I would recommend is try to watch the recording again. Hopefully, it will get clear, and try to solve it on your own. Do not look at my solution. Try to solve it on your own. Hopefully, then it will be clear. Okay. So can I proceed to the next one? We can use select in concat as well. Okay. Can we use full join? Okay, here Where did that query go? Okay, here. This one, I'll remove this. Okay, this is not correct query. We cannot use full join here because full join had a different meaning, right? Because if I do uh, okay, in this particular case, this is already fetching 12 records. The sales, all the 12 records will be matched here. Okay. And then here, okay, in this particular case, I think whether you use left join or full join, maybe the data will not, the data will be the same. Okay. But the correct approach is still the left join, because as far as our question goes, we only need to fetch all the paintings and all the artists. All the paintings and all the artists are only coming from here, so I just need to make sure that all the data from the leftmost tables are returned. Okay. You should not be using full outer join every single time just because the data will be the same. Okay. uh, in this particular case, I think the output will still be the same, but this is the better approach. Okay, this is the correct approach. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay. Now, I think we have covered inner join, left join, right join, and outer join. There are three more type of joins. Self join I will be taking up in a separate class, maybe next class. But there are two more type of joins: natural join and uh, what is that? Cross join. Okay. Now for this natural join, right? This is my question number 5. Okay. And my question states this: using a natural join for question 3. So what was my question 3? It was this particular question, right? So okay, so we solved our um, inner join, that was this particular query. So I'll just paste, because we already solved this question, so I'll paste it here. Okay. So okay. So now let's look at the natural join concept. Okay. Now we had a question telling that find how much each artist made from sales and how many paintings did they sell. Okay. And you all told that we can use an inner join here, and we have done the inner join here. Okay. So I don't need to do a subquery, all of this here. That was just to explain you a concept that we can use for better query writing. But if I execute this, this is an inner join. So all the matching record between sales and artists will get returned, and it's going to sum together all the sale price and the number of records. Okay. Now, if I had to, I can also write the same query using another concept called as natural join. Okay. Now, do anyone know what is a natural join? Does anyone know what is a natural join? Can anyone guess what would be a natural join? Based on the name, what do you think a natural join would stand for? Okay, there are some people who gave the right answer. Now, natural join will return the matching records. If okay, so how do we write a natural join? Is first of all, I'm just going to copy this query. Okay, or I'll not copy this. Maybe I'll copy this query. So I will just put it here. Okay, we can use this clause called as natural join. Okay, the thing is, when you're using a natural join, we don't need to specify uh, this one. What is that? Yeah, the join condition. Okay, so when you're using a natural join, you don't need to specify the join condition. Okay, and then everything else is the same. Okay, now if I execute this, okay, it's going to not return any record. The reason why it's not going to not return any record is because how natural join works is, natural join, in a natural join, we don't need to provide a join condition, but SQL will still do a join. Okay, SQL will do the join based on the column names. Okay, what it will do is SQL go to the left table and the right table, and it will see are there any columns in these two tables with the same column name. Okay, if there are tables with the same column name, then it will do the join based on that column. But in our particular case, if I go into my sales table, I have artist ID here. But if I go into my artist table, I do not have artist ID, but I have ID. Okay. So these two tables do not have any common column names, right? Because they don't have any common column names, this query is going to return no records. There are no matching records. But let's say I do an alter command. So I'll say alter table, uh, artist, alter table name, rename column ID to artist ID. Okay, so I am manually now renaming the column from of this artist table, that is column ID. I will rename it to artist ID. Okay, if I run this and it is successful, now if I go into my artist table, you can see I have the artist ID column, and in my sales table, you can see I also have this artist ID column. Okay, and now when I run this natural join, now you can see I'm getting three records. Previously, I was not getting three records. Now I'm getting three records. Why? I did not make any change to the query. The only change that I did was I made sure that both these tables will have at least one column where the column names are same. So this is what natural join is. Natural join will do the join based on the common columns between the tables. Okay, when I say common column, the column name has to be the same. It does not matter if the values in the columns are different, etc. Okay, the column names has to be the same. That is how natural join works. Okay, so but there is one thing that I want to tell here is try to avoid using natural join. It is not recommended. Okay, in fact, in many of the RDBMS, natural join is not supported. So for example, I think in Microsoft SQL Server, natural join is not supported, and I'm not sure if my MySQL also, I think natural join is not supported, probably. Okay, so natural join is not a recommended way of joining tables. The simple reason for that is you are asking SQL to make join based on the column names. Okay, many times when you're working on real projects, we would have columns in different tables. The column names may be different, but they may mean the same thing. Okay, but if you, and it is always better that we control how the joins will happen between the tables. We would not want SQL to automatically make a join based on the column names. Okay, maybe sometimes it will be okay because we know that the column names will always be this one, but 5 years later someone might change the column. So let's say you are working on a project, you write your query using natural joins. Okay, because you know that you have two important tables which are having the same column name, and then you resign from your job. 5 years later, someone else, there is some new feature added to your software, and they change the column names in one of the tables. Okay, and then your query is not going to work because it's not going to return any record. Then whatever software was using this particular query would all fail. Okay, and people would struggle so badly to identify what was the problem, because it's not going to throw an error, it's just not going to return a record. Okay, and people would be struggling so much because there is data in both the tables, because data is not getting returned because you are using a natural join, and that is why natural join is not recommended. I am explaining you this concept because it's good to know. If in interview, if they ask, they might ask, why is natural join not recommended? You can tell that because natural join will do a join. You will ask SQL to do the join based on the table column names, but it is always better that as a person who is writing the query, I decide on which column I do the join, because I am the best person to judge how the join should happen. I would not want SQL to do the join based on the column name. Okay, so this is what the concept of natural join is. I will not be using natural join in any of my exercises or queries or projects. I never use it in my work also. Even in my team, there were a couple of people who were using natural join. I recommended them not to use natural join. Okay, it might work for now because you know the column names are same. Tomorrow, if someone changes the column name, your entire software is going to crash. Okay, so not recommended method. I in my whole career of 13 years, I have never come across a scenario where we needed to use natural join. Okay, I don't know why this join exists. Maybe there is a certain case, certain type of people who may need to use natural join, but I don't know why. I have never come across that. Okay, so in my opinion, I recommend not to use this. Just learn the concept so you can answer during the interviews. Okay, okay, so this is about natural join. um, there's one more thing, okay, that I wanted to tell here, that I forgot. I don't remember. If I remember, I will tell later. Okay, but this is what natural join is. And now what I will do is I'll rename the column back to the original name, that is to artist ID. So, okay, is it clear about natural join? Uh, I will not be covering indexing in this particular course. Okay, very good question from who was this before I returned to name. Okay, so Uma asked a very good question here. Okay, so let's say now. Okay, now I'll just show you this table. So sales table, you can see that artist ID is different, and in the artist table I have ID only. But so I have ID in the artist table, right? And then in the sales table I have this ID. Okay, so there is ID in the sales table and there is ID in the artist table. Then why did this query not return any record? Anyone? Can anyone answer this? This is what Uma is asking. I said that based on the column names, a join will happen. So there are columns ID in both the tables. So why did this join not fetch any record? Okay, the answer is given correctly here. That is, the data is different, right? If you go into the sales table here, the ID is 1001, 1002, etc. Whereas in the artist table, the ID is 123456. So the data is different. Actually, the join is happening, but there are no matching records. Hence, there is no data fetched from this particular query. Okay. So this is about natural join. Now let's come to the last type of join that I want to cover in this session, and then I have a very important exercise for all of you. Okay. So cross join. What is cross join? Anyone? What is a cross join? Anyone? Uh, Digital Tech Connect says, okay, that is for Tim. Cartesian product, it work every combination of join. It multiplies records one to the other. Cross join Cartesian product operation. 2 into 2 equal to 4. Cartesian join. Okay, fine. So I think most of you guys already know. And let's try to look at this with an example. Okay. So I'll again take the same table, maybe. Okay. And I'll just write a query here. Okay. And let's say I'm just going to say, maybe I will do star. Okay. And I'll not do a natural join, I'll do a cross join. Okay. Again, when I'm using a cross join, I don't need to provide the join condition. So in a natural join, also I don't need to provide the join condition. So there is no on clause. Okay. If I try to give on clause, it's going to throw an error. And the same thing for cross join, also there is no on clause. Okay. Now when I execute this, so first of all, in my sales table, I have 6 records. And in my artist table, I have also 6 records. Okay. So when I execute this, you can see that I'm getting 36 records, as you can see here. So it is 36 records. Okay. What happened was, whenever I'm using a cross join, every record from the left table will match with every record from the right table. And no join condition is required because joining is actually not happening. Okay. It's basically going to match every record from the left table with every record from the right table. So in other words, so uh, maybe I need to show with an example, or I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? So let's say table 1, okay, row 1, row 2, row 3, okay, and table 2, row 1, row 2, row 3. Okay. So what happens in a cross join is, this record will get matched with this. Again, it will get matched with this. Again, it will get matched with this. So this one record has matched with these 3 records. So it is going to return 3 records. Then comes this record. This record will again match with this. It will again match with this. It will again match with this. So even this record matched with 3 records. So I got 3 matches here. I got 3 matches here. 3 plus 3 is 6. And then again comes to the last record, this. this row 3 again will get matched with the first record here, second record here, and third record here. So this also will match with 3 records. So 3 plus 3 plus 3, so total 9 records. Okay. In other words, they're also called as Cartesian product. That is, the result of a cross join will always be the number of records on the left hand side into the number of records on the right hand side. So in this case, sales table was having 6 records, artist table was having 6 records. 6 into 6 is 36, and that is why this cross join will return 36 records. And you can see here, all the columns from both the tables are written because I'm doing a S star. If I do a S dot star, only the records from the what is this? S table will get returned. Okay. So, or a better, just to make it more clear, what I'll do is artist and paintings. Okay. So I'll use a paintings table here, painting P with artist A, and here I'll tell P dot name as painting name, comma A dot first name. Okay. If I execute this, painting name, if I execute this, you can see here I have this painting miracle. So this miracle is repeated 6 times, and it is matching with all the 6 artists. Okay, and the same thing happens for the next painting, sunshine. Sunshine is matching with all the 6 artists. Pretty woman is again matching with all the 6 artists, and the same thing for all the other paintings. Okay, so this is what cross join is. Nothing much to explain here. I hope it is self-explanatory. Okay, if any questions you ask me, or else I have a fantastic assignment for you guys now. Okay, so any questions about this so far? Any questions about everything that we covered so far? Cross join is a very expensive process, but in show the query again. Okay, this query. But there are certain cases where cross join can be useful. Okay, I will be solving certain problems little later in this course where I will be using a cross join. Generally, I'll tell you one thumb rule when you can use cross join. Okay, the thumb rule is, if you are joining a table, basically, or if you are doing a cross join a table with another table, and if any one of those table is only having one record, then you can use cross join. Then it's not going to be an expensive process. Why? Because, so let's say I do here, so I'll tell select star from artist, where I'll tell first name equal to kit. Okay, if I execute this, now it's only going to return 10 records. Okay, because painting is having 10 records. Okay, and it's going to match with every record here. Okay, here it only written 10 records because my painting table only has 10 records. Okay, so 10 into 1 is 10, so that is fine. So generally, whenever I'm solving a problem, if I know that if I have some like generally, if I need to fetch the current date, okay, or date from the system date, or I have some hard coded value, or for certain calculations I need to have a value returned in my join, then I do a cross join, because I know that this query will always return one record, and any other join or result set that I might have prior to this, whatever number of records was getting written, the number of records will still be the same, because cross join is not going to make any changes to the number of record, because I'm using this table which is having only one record. Okay, so if you ever want to use a cross join, the best scenario to use is when your table is only returning one record. Then if you use cross join, it does not impact the number of records, and the performance also is not that much impacted. Okay, but if you try to do a cross join with multiple records, then it's like let's say you have a table 1 million records and another table with 1,000 records, and if you do a cross join, 1 million into 1,000 million, I don't know how much it is, but that's a pretty big number, right? And the performance will be very, very bad. Okay, so that's why about cross join. Okay, so Suraj has given a query here. Even this is fine. So let's try to execute this query. Okay, this is something that I do not mention in my codes because I don't write queries in this way these days. But can anyone tell me, will this query work? Anyone? Will this query work? Or does anyone think it's going to fail? Okay, so someone tells it fails. Okay, now let's execute. it works fine. It's also going to return the same 60 records because painting has 10 records, sales has 6 record, 10 into 6, 60 record. This is fine. Okay. But I have not used the join clause here. I have used the comma here. Okay. You know what this is called? What type of query this is? Do you know what it is? Anyone? Yeah, it is a cross join, but what type of a syntax is this? Because this syntax is different from this syntax, right? So the same thing, I can also write like this. So I can also write cross join with this. This also will return the same number of records. This also will return the same number of records. So what is the difference between these two? Okay, I think Dinesh answers here. And the thing is, this is called as a non-ANSI join, non-ANSI join way, non-ANSI way of joining tables. Okay, uh, and this is ANSI way of joining tables. Okay, so I think when SQL started around 2020, some years back, okay, we did not have all this join keyword. This join keyword was not present initially, okay. The only way to join two tables was by putting a comma in between the tables, okay. So initial days, we always used to join the tables like this, okay, because join keyword did not exist in the older versions or the initial versions of the SQL, okay. So this, and then I think in, I don't know, in 2000s or something, join keyword was introduced, okay. And then what they mentioned was this join keyword, if you are writing a query where you're joining tables using this join keyword, then it is called as an ANSI way of joining table. And if you are joining tables using the comma, then it is called as a non-ANSI way of joining table. Now the interesting thing is, this non-ANSI way is like, it's kind of, hardly anyone uses it now, okay. It's not recommended, okay, because when you are using a query where you have multiple outer joins and inner joins, it becomes very complicated to join tables using this method. But with this method, joining tables are very easy. So my recommendation is, always try to use this way of joining tables, okay. Never try to join tables like this, because it's not recommended. If you go to a project where you have some 10-year-old code which may be using this, then you need to understand what it is, but it's not a recommended way of writing query, okay. Both are returning Cartesian product, both are actually going to return the same data, okay. Okay, so I have the last 10 minutes remaining. I want to I want to mention something here, okay. So I'll copy this. So this is the last part for this query. For this joint, I'm going to conclude this joints concept with this particular example, and and then we will be solving other problems, okay. So I'm going to create two tables, okay. So I'll create two tables, test1 and test2. Both the tables are having the ID column, only one column, and I'm going to insert some records into both these tables, okay. Now if I look into my table 1, so this is my table 1. I hope this, you can see this, okay. You can see I have in my table 1 7 records. So I have 1 1 1 2 3 3 3, okay. So this many records. And in my table 2, I have 6 records. I have 1 1 2 2 4 and null, okay. What I want you guys to tell me is, I want you guys to tell me, when I do an inner join, left join, right join, outer join, cross join, natural join, what will be the output of these queries, okay. I have already written the queries here. So this is the inner join. Select star from table 1, join with table 2, and join on the ID column. Then I'm doing a left join, then I'm doing a right join, okay. Then I'm doing a full join, natural join, and finally cross join, okay. I want you guys to tell me, what you just tell me the number of records that will be returned from each of these type of joins, okay. So what I'm going to do is, I have made this Excel file here just so that I can explain it more clearly. This is the data in my table 1. This is the data in my table 2. Now I want to know how many people can guess the correct answer. Okay. So when I do an inner join between these two tables, how many records will I get? Anyone? Not anyone, everyone. Let me know how many records will I get. And more importantly, why do you get, how does the join work? Because this exercise, you will be able to solve this problem only if you thoroughly understand how join works. So think and answer. So inner join 10. Okay. Anyone who is watching the recording of this video, if you have not been part of the live class, for you, right? Try to answer this question on your own. Try to pause the recording, answer it yourself, and then come back and see what the answer is. Okay. Because this is a good exercise for you to know how much joins concept you actually understand. Okay. Many people have given the answer here, and I see most of your answers are wrong. Some of you guys have given the right answer, but most of your answers are wrong. Okay. Now let's try to understand in depth and try to solve this. Okay. First, let's only focus on inner join. In my table 1, I have 1, 1, 1. I have 2, 3, 3, 3. Okay. Let's go one record at a time. So my table 1, 1. Okay. The value is 1. It When a join happens, what it will do is I'm joining based on the ID column, right? So there's only one column in this table. So that's the only way to join. Now, this one will match with this one. So one record. This one will again match with this one because same value. So two records, right? That's fine. But this one will then not match with any of the other records, right? So two matching records from this first thing. So I'll say two here. Okay. So I'll just maybe mark it like, right. Okay. This is two. Okay. Then SQL goes to the second record of the table 1, okay, or the leftmost table. Okay. So this second record, this one will match with this one. Okay. So there is again another one record match. This one will again match with this one. So two matching records. And this one will not match with any of the other records. Right. So that means two matching records. So here also two matching records. Okay. Then comes to this third record. This will again match with this one. This will again match with this one. So two matching records. It will not match with any other records. So this will again be 2, right? Now comes the fourth record in the table, left table, that is 2. 2 will only match with this and 2 will again match with this. So two matching records. So this will again return 2, right? Then comes 3. 3 is not present anywhere in table 2, so it will not match. So the same thing will happen for these 3 records. So the inner join should basically return me 8 records. Do you agree and do you understand? Anyone? Okay. So let's go back and execute this query and see if it is correct. Okay. So this is my table 1, table 2. I'm doing an inner join with ID column. I'll run this and you can see that I'm getting 8 records. Okay. And if you look at the data, you can see here 6 records are from 1 and 2 records from 2. Okay. So this is what inner join did. So I got 8 records, right? I hope this is clear. Okay, this is how the joins happen. The values will match. If there are multiple values matching, multiple records will get returned from the inner join. Okay, and that is why sometimes you get duplicate records because there are multiple records with the same value. That is why the joins will return duplicate records. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now let's go to the left join. How many records from left join? Anyone? 11, 11, 11, 11. Anyone who tells other than 11? Okay, everyone tells 11 because you have clearly understood the inner join. Okay, N tells 9. Why 9? What is the formula that I gave for left join? Left join will first do inner join. So whatever record return from inner join will get returned first of all. Okay, so definitely it's going to have 8 that will come from inner join. So all this will be doing an inner join. So this 8. Next, once the inner join is done, again SQL will go to the leftmost table and it will see are there any additional records in the leftmost table which is not present in the rightmost table, and that additional records are these 3, right? These 3 are only present in the leftmost table but not present in the rightmost table. So these 3 will get returned. So 8 plus 3, that is 11, right? So I'll say 8 plus 3, that is 11, right? So 1 minute, I'll just put this. Okay, now if I come back to my PostgreSQL and if I execute this left join, you can see that I'm getting 11 records here. So 11 records, right? And that is exactly what happened here. Okay. Now let's come to right join. How many records will I get from right join? Okay, 10. Anyone who tells other than 10? Right join 10. Okay. What does right join do? First, it will do a inner join plus, once it matches all the record, then it will go to the rightmost table and see are there any additional records in the right table which is not present in the left table. So 4 is not present in the left table, so 4 will get returned. Then I have a null value. Do you think this null value will get returned? Yes. So should it be 10 or 9? 10, everyone tells. Okay. So the answer is whether it is null or whether it is any other record, it does not matter for SQL. Null is also a record, right? If we go back to my PostgreSQL, you can see here this is null, but it's still having it's still a record, right? If I go into my table 2, it's null, but it's still having a record. It's not like there is no record, there is still a record. So it is, even though it is null, it is still a value. Okay, so it's just a null value. Okay, so if I go back here, so basically it will be 8 plus these two, so it should be 8 plus 2, it should probably be 10. Okay, so let's execute this. Right join, right join, you can see it's returning 10 records. Okay, so this is what right join does. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now let's come to the full join. Can you tell me how much would full join return? Okay, 15. Okay, everyone tells 13. There is one with 15. Anyone with any other answers? 13, 15. Okay, 15. Okay, okay. So let's try to solve this. Okay, full join. What will full join first do? Full join will first do an inner join, right? All the matching records will get returned. So this is the first thing that I can write. Okay. Additionally, after this, it will go to the leftmost table. It will see are there any additional records in the leftmost table. Yes, there are 3 records in the leftmost table which is not present in the right table, right? Then it will go to the rightmost table and it will see are there any additional records in the rightmost table which is not present in the leftmost table. And yes, we have 2, right? So 8 plus 3 plus 2 is how much? 13, right? So probably it should return 13, right? Now let's go back and execute our full outer join. So this is my full join query. And you can see here I'm getting 13 records. Okay. So if you see I'm getting 13 records, that's what. Okay. So the answer is not 15, but the answer is 13. I hope it is clear why it is 13. Okay. The reason why I'm doing this exercise is not so that you will guess the right answer. I want you to understand internally how the join happens. Once you understand how the join happens, then no matter what problem you have to face in interviews or in your work, you will be master of these joins. Okay, so I hope you understand this concept. Okay, now let's come to natural join. Can anyone tell me how much records natural join will have? Go back to terminal. This one, natural join, how many records? 8, 10. Okay, perfect answer by Adam. Same as the inner join because the column names are same and ID, the values are also same, right? So this should also be 8, right? So if I go back here and if I execute this natural join, it's still fetching 8 records. Okay, that's fine. Now let's come to cross join. How many records in cross join? Anyone? 42, 35, 42, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 into 6 is how much? 7 into 6 is 42, right? Cross join will just return, you can just do a Cartesian product, right? And let's run this and you can see it is 42. Okay, so this is the answer. I hope this is clear. Okay, the time is up. Maybe I will look at the questions if there are any. But that's all for today. No other concepts. I hope I'm going to end joins. Okay, self join is remaining. I will cover self join maybe tomorrow. Okay. Uh, if any questions, you let me know. I hope this was helpful for you to master joins. Okay. There are too many questions. Let's see if I can answer all of them. I'll just stay for another 5 minutes. Okay. For problem statement 3, can you get the artist name using subquery? Problem statement 3. Problem statement 3. Can we get the artist name? I did not understand. I'm already using a subquery here, right? So yes, you can get. Is there every artist cover in sales table? Every artist cover, is every artist present in the sales table? Mm, to no, not every artist is present in the sales table. Okay, so you need to look at the question. Has the question asked us to fetch all the artists? In this case, they did not ask us to fetch all the artists. They only asked us to fetch the artist who has made a sale, right? So that's the thing. Here we are grouping on different tables. Okay, what if some artists have no sales? Then output should be zero, right? This the output should be zero, but that is not asked in this question. Okay, I have not told you to display. Find. I have told you find how much each artist made from sales. Okay, and let's say if I had put another condition here telling that if an artist has not made any sales, then display zero. If I had mentioned that, then yes, you could do that. But I have not mentioned that in my question. So don't have your own imagination. Look at what the question has asked. Okay. So look, based on the question, your answer should be okay, not based on what you think is should be or should not be. Okay. Um, we are doing group by on different table and select statement we are displaying different table. We are doing on the same table, right? So group by I'm doing first name. In the select also it is the first name. All these columns are basically aggregate functions. So inside aggregate functions, I can put any different column. That does not matter. I already explained this in one of the previous classes. Fourth question, why below query is fetching 10 records for me? Select start from artist, full join painting P. Uh, this is returning. Okay. So Swati is asking, why is she getting 10 records for this particular question? Okay. So painting an artist. How can it return a.id? I am already executing this query here. So okay, let's execute at the bottom. You're getting 12 records, right? It's not 10. You look at the data set. Maybe you are not using the correct data set. I hope yesterday I gave you another data set for the joins data set itself. I have added some additional records in some of the tables. So take the latest data set which I shared yesterday, okay? And that data set will have a name like joins underscore painting data set. So use that particular data set. Can you please show one more time? How did you know how many painting? Okay, this one I already answered. In content, this one I already answered. For the last left join query, which will be the left table? Already answered. Can we pass the select column for X? Can we pass the select column for example? I think you can do that. You can do that. What you are doing here, digital tech collect. Okay. In the last left join on this one, how does it get reference from the entire data set doesn't have alias before the last left join? How does it work? What is this? In the last left join. Okay, so I think you're looking at question number 4. In the last left join, on x.artist equal to a.id, how does it get the reference from mid table? What reference from mid table? What is mid table? I don't understand. The entire data set doesn't have alias before the last left table. How does it work? Yeah, I don't understand this question, Digital Tech Connect. Instead of using left join on complete sales table, can we apply it on the ID column in the sales table? Instead of using left join on the complete sales table, can we apply it on the ID column? You can do that. Instead of using this entire sales table, you can just take the columns that you need from the sales table. You can create a subquery here. You can do that. Happens on the basis of some column in the two. I don't understand what do you mean, Supriya, by this question. For the last left on the entire records are acting as left join, then how are we taking only ID for joining condition? For the last left join, entire records are acting as left table. Join. Entire records are acting as left table. Okay. Then how are we taking only a.id for joining condition? Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, right? This entire thing is taking as a result set, but I don't need to do a join for each table. I'm doing a join based on this ID. Okay, so this result set here will return me some record. Okay, and from that record, one of the columns will be I think a.id. I'm doing just join. You don't have to join on multiple columns. I know that I only need to do a join on one particular column. That will be sufficient for this particular requirement. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Uh, Joinings are case sensitive. No, none of these column names are not case sensitive. Okay, is natural not supported on clause but does not where clause you can, yeah, on clause is not supported, but where condition you can do. Where do we use cross join? I already explained that. In full join, why null with null is last row? In full join, why null with null in last row? This is a full join output. Where do you say null with null? You, I don't have a record with everything is null, right? Can you share questions for SQL for practice? I will be coming up with some SQL assignment queries very soon. And full join once more using Excel sheet. Uh, okay, I will try to explain that. So I already explained that here, right? So full join. When I was explaining you this full join, what happened? So I have table A, table B. Okay, all the matching records will get returned. So matching records are all these 8 records. Okay, then it will go into the leftmost table. The leftmost table is these 3 additional records that will get returned. Then it will go into the rightmost table. These are the 2 additional rightmost table. It will get returned. Okay, the best way what you can do is whatever queries I have solved, right, try to solve it on your own. Try to see how full join will change the output. For the same join, change from full join to left join to right join to inner join. See how your output changes. Only then you will understand. Okay, just don't depend on my explanation. You need to do your own practice, then only you will understand. Okay, try to go back home and try to just run the queries that I have executed and try to see it. If you have a lot of data, then can we create pagination? I will not be covering all that things. Okay, pagination, performance tuning, everything not part of this course. For question 2, can we use like, for question 2, can we use like this? Sales join collector C not ID equal to C not ID. For question 2, this question. Okay, so let's copy this. So for question 2, I'm getting 18 records. How many records did I get here? One record. So this is not working, right, Pavan? Because you're getting, what are you doing here? Sales join with collectors. Oh, so basically this is kind of a non-equi join, and this is not correct. This is absolutely wrong because any record where it's going to return, it's kind of returning multiple records here, right? So this is not correct. Okay, do we, how do we write the recursive query in SQL? I will come to recursion little later. Okay, when I come to recursive part, I'll explain it then. Okay, so I'll remove this, and first of all I want to save everything. So this is what we covered today, right? Okay, so that's all for today. I'm going to save everything in a notes file and I'll share it with you. So this is session 11. I'll share that Excel file as well. So, okay, so that's all, everyone. I hope you learned something today. Okay, so I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, and see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.